With the automotive industry booming in the United States, having its best year yet in the 21st century, one of the fastest growing segments is the subcompact luxury crossover class. Introduced in the 2015 model year, the Mercedes-Benz GLA continues on into 2016 with equipment upgrades such as a new 7-inch screen for the infotainment system, standard dual-zone climate control, and a new dynamic select drive mode selector. So let's go ahead and check out this 2016 Mercedes-Benz GLA250. Now, if you didn't know, the Mercedes GLA is also based off of the CLA sedan, and not surprisingly, they do share many components with each other, especially when you get to the interiors of the two vehicles. They do look quite similar to each other. Now, as far as styling goes, it's pretty stylish, I have to say. The GLA takes many styling cues from the CLA sedan and many other Mercedes vehicles, and it has a sloping roofline in the rear which gives it a more coupe-like appearance, but ours comes with these pretty good looking bi-xenon headlights, and then you also do have LED daytime running lights as well. Ours comes with the sports package, which comes with AMG body styling, and then you also do have these 19-inch alloy wheels too. Overall, not a bad looking vehicle. Now, the GLA is also the cheapest and the smallest SUV that you can buy in the Mercedes lineup. Here goes the key fob design for the vehicle. It's your typical Mercedes key fob. You have your panic alarm, your lock, unlock, and to release your trunk. All right, now this color is known as the Mountain Gray Metallic, and you also do have smart key access on all 4 doors of the vehicle. Coming to the interior, you do have a full-on black leatherette interior. And you also do have your power lumbar down here, and your other power adjustments are located right here, including your power recline. For 2016, a manual thigh extension also comes as standard equipment, which is nice. All right, now stepping on inside of the GLA here, the ingress and egress is pretty good. I do have a little bit more headroom inside of here than what you will find in the CLA. It feels a little bit more spacious than the CLA. And as you can see, the interior is pretty stylish, yet simplistic in typical Mercedes fashion. And what you're hearing there is a 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder. Full leather-wrapped steering wheel. Coming to your transmission, you have a 7-speed automatic, and in typical Mercedes fashion, you have a column-mounted shifter. And you just go down for drive, up for reverse. And when you put the vehicle into reverse, this will display your rear view camera with guidance lines. An 180-degree view rear view camera is now optional on the GLA for 2016. The mirrors also tilt down when you put the vehicle into reverse as well. And you can also change the views here, which is nice. And then you can also change the brightness if you would like. Pretty cool. And you also do have paddle shifters for the manual shiftability. And then if you want to put it back into park, just push for park. Easy as that. And I'm gonna go ahead and turn on the lights and the hazards. All windows are fully automatic in the GLA. And let's go ahead and pop up the hood and check out the engine bay. Let's go ahead and check out the exterior of the vehicle. Heated exterior mirrors. You also do have blind spot detection and LED turn signal indicators. (19-inch) alloy wheels. You also do have perforated front discs that come on the sports package for the brakes. Coming up front, you have bi-xenon headlights with LED daytime running lights and LED turn signal indicators. Powering the GLA here is the same powertrain that you will also find in the CLA, not surprisingly. It's a 2-liter turbocharged inline 4-cylinder that produces 208 horsepower at 5,500 RPM and 258 pound-feet of torque at 1,250 RPM, with EPA estimates being a pretty darn fuel efficient, 24 in the city and 32 on the highway. We also do have all-wheel drive as well. Overall, this powertrain does provide plenty of power and is reasonably fuel efficient and should satisfy most consumers. However, if you want more power, you can go for a high-performance AMG model. Now, there's essentially two trims for the GLA. You have the GLA250 as well as the GLA45 AMG. But there's also many different packages and many different options that you could choose from. Now, as far as competitors go for the vehicle, you have the BMW X1 as well as the Audi Q3. You also do have roof rails on the top. Very sleek exterior design, especially when you get to the rear of the vehicle. LED taillights with LED turn signal indicators, and you also do have a rear window wiper with a rear window defroster. Of course, all of your basic powered features, you have your power windows, power mirrors, and your power door locks are located right here. And this is where you'll find your memory seat settings for 3 people. Interior quality is pretty good for the most part inside of the GLA here. However, it is pretty evident that there is some cost cutting going on. Especially down here, it feels very cheap and plasticky, and that's not typical Mercedes. And build quality is okay inside of here. There's no panel gaps or anything of that nature. The materials are pretty good. You have nice soft touch materials on the upper door panel, mid door panel, on the armrest with nice premium stitching. On the dashboard is also a nice softly padded material. This is an okay interior, but it certainly isn't Mercedes' best, especially given the price point of nearly $45,000. Now, coming to the steering wheel design, the steering wheel is pretty stylish. I love the new steering wheel design language from Mercedes. Over here we have your controls for the driver information center, which I will get to in just a minute. Over here we also do have your steering wheel mounted audio controls with your voice recognition and your Bluetooth phone controls. The steering wheel in the GLA also does manually tilt and telescope with a pretty good range of adjustment. Up here we also do have your auto dimming rearview mirror with garage home link and your LED map lights, and you also have your panoramic sunroof, which is an option. It's a standalone option. Pretty nice. It certainly gives the cabin a much more airy feel inside of here. Seating comfort in the GLA is pretty good, and there's lots of side bolstering, and the seats do feel a little firm. However, they're comfortable for the most part. It is nice that a manual thigh extension does come standard for each seat, even the passenger seat, which is nice. As far as visibility goes in the GLA, that is certainly not a strong point for this vehicle. There's not a whole lot of glass area on the front windows, and the A-pillars are a little thick, and seeing out of the windshield is kind of hard too. The dashboard is kind of mounted a little bit high. When you get to the rear of the vehicle, it's really hard to see out of this vehicle, especially when there's no little small rear quarter window back there. Visibility can be a lot better inside of the GLA here. Now, the climate controls in the GLA are not really well placed, or in other words, they're not ergonomically correct, or they're a little far within the driver's reach. But you do have dual zone automatic climate control here, and you have knobs for the temperatures for the driver, and then you also do have the front passenger side too. You have your fan speeds, of course, and then your front window defroster, rear window defroster, and your different zones. The buttons need to be a little bit bigger, as well as the knobs too. And I just don't like how it's scrunched all the way down here. I wish the climate controls were more of right here where it's easier to see. Coming down here, you also do have a little storage cubby, and then you have a 12-volt
power outlet. Then right here you have a little cup holder, and then another cup holder, and another cup holder. And you will find a decent amount of center console storage. You have 2 USB charging ports down there. And the center console is nice and soft touch and stitched. Over here is where you will also find your 3-staged heated seats. This is for the driver's side and this is for the front passenger side. Over here, this goes to your vehicle information on the 7-inch infotainment screen. And then right here you have your different driver selectable modes, which I'll get more in depth on later in the video. And then you have your automatic start-stop system. So when the vehicle comes to a complete stop, the engine will actually shut off to save a little bit of fuel. That's one reason why the GLA earns pretty good fuel economy numbers. And then right here you also do have your downhill descent control. Coming to the gauges and the whole instrument cluster, it's a very traditional looking layout. The font on the gauges is pretty good. It's very bold and very clear and easy to read. On the left we have your speedometer with your fuel gauge. On the right you also do have your tachometer with your coolant temperature. Coming in the center right there, this is your driver information center. On the top, on the upper left hand corner, you will find your exterior temperature readout, and in the upper right hand corner you will find your digital clock. Now to control this driver information center, it's all controlled by the buttons on the steering wheel. Right here you have your fuel consumption, shows you your range, shows you much vehicle information on this driver information center. And then you also do have your odometer, and then you have a digital speedometer, then your trip odometers too, then your eco display. Pretty cool. Just a little bit of information here, but overall really love the gauges in the instrument cluster. All right, now let's get to the Mercedes command interface here. Now it's all controlled by this dial right here and then the buttons surrounding it, or you could control some of the menus from right here on the dash. Now coming to your radio sources, your different radio sources do include all of the norm AM, FM, HD radio, and then you also do have satellite radio too. Now this is a new 7-inch screen head unit for the infotainment system, and this is what you'll find in many of Mercedes' latest products. It's a pretty good looking system, very crisp and clear looking display here. Now coming to your other media sources, we do have Bluetooth streaming audio, and then you also do have your auxiliary input and your USB port with iPod integration. And then for the navigation system, you actually have to have a memory card inserted, but I suggest checking out many of my other latest Mercedes reviews, as you could see what the navigation system looks like, and they're pretty much all the same in every Mercedes vehicle. Coming to telephone, you can hook up your Bluetooth phone, of course, have all of your contacts stored on here, and then have an integrated dial pad, which is nice. And like I said, many of the menus can be controlled from right here. So if you want to access the navigation, all you have to do is press on Navi right there and it goes straight to the navigation, which is nice. But to select between the different menus, you can also do it by this dial down here. You're coming to vehicle, shows you other vehicle information that's not shown on the driver information center, such as your fuel consumption. Then it gives you a little bar graph. What I do love about this command interface, however, is that it does have a little back button, which is very convenient. You also do have an operator's manual. You could search through many different things about the vehicle if you would like. You have your time, you could change the time, vehicle settings, your dynamic select, your drive mode selector. Overall, pretty nice. And then you can also turn the display off at any time you would like. Then you have your system settings, which you could change the language, the display, rear view camera. You can activate the Bluetooth on or off, or you can reset the system if you like. Overall, love the command interface. Very good looking display here, and it's fairly easy to use once you get used to it. But this is not a touchscreen here, just to remind you. Now the dynamic select mode in the GLA is basically your different driver selectable modes. Now, your different driver selectable modes do include your sport, which tightens up the steering a little bit and changes the throttle response. And then you also do have an individual, off-road, since we do have the all-wheel drive system. And then you also do have your eco, which is the most fuel efficient setting. It also shows you up here on the driver information center what mode you're in. And then you also do have your comfort mode for everyday driving. Driving the GLA, you do get pretty sporty performance out of this 2-liter turbocharged inline 4-cylinder. It certainly provides a decent amount of power for the vehicle and is reasonably fuel efficient. The handling is pretty good in the GLA. You can feel for where this vehicle is trying to go. It's very predictable and feels pretty nimble around corners too. However, the only downside about this vehicle is the 7-speed transmission. It's pretty slow to respond and it hesitates to shift at times. It's not all that great, and I would love to see the GLA have a different kind of transmission inside of here. If you do want higher performance out of the GLA, go for the GLA45 AMG, as it has much more power and torque. But the ride comfort in the GLA, it can get a little harsh, but it's comfortable for the most part and should satisfy most consumers. Alright, and I'm gonna go ahead and shut it down. Let's go ahead and check out the rest of the car.
Now you do have a power tailgate. Now, compared to some rivals, especially the BMW X1, which has been redesigned for the 2016 model year, the Mercedes GLA is a little on the small side when it comes to cargo space, but the rear seats do fold down 60-40 split. Now you do have a 12-volt power outlet back here and a little side storage pocket. And then you have one right here on this side too. Build quality and materials do follow through in the rear of the vehicle. You still have nice stitching. Glad to see that they didn't cheapen out back here. Now, one major reason why people will choose a GLA over a CLA is the space for the rear seat occupants, and there's way more space in the GLA than the CLA. I have a decent amount of legroom, not too shabby, and the headroom is actually pretty good too. Much more headroom in the GLA than the CLA. Back here we also do have rear air vents. Then you also do have a little storage cubby with a 12-volt power outlet. And then you have cup holders back here with the rear center armrest, which is nice. And the seats themselves are actually kind of comfortable. They're a little on the firm side. Alrighty. So while there are other subcompact luxury crossovers that are a little bit more spacious and a little bit more practical, the 2016 Mercedes-Benz GLA is still a pretty well-rounded choice in this segment, with its very fuel-efficient powertrain and its pretty luxurious interior with lots of luxury goodies. So remember that this is Cameron Birch from Cameron's Car Reviews.